right. Good morning, everyone. So I wanted to take a second today to make a short video for you kind of explaining division a little bit more in depth. Not necessarily the process of it, because I don't think many of you were confused by it, or at least nobody reached out to me. But more so to talk about where all of those excluded values come from. Right? So if you guys noticed on the worksheet that I gave you on Friday, to simplify, the expression probably wasn't super difficult, but you notice there were a ton of excluded values on a lot of those problems, more so than you probably initially anticipated. So what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit more about where do all of those come from and why does it end up being that way. Right, so in order to do something like that, I took this example right off of that same worksheet. So I think this is like number 18 or something, but more so, I'm still going to go through my first step of factor everything. So that first fraction, the denominator, I can factor out a GCF of 7 from those two. Second fraction, can't really touch that numerator. There's nothing I can do there. But the denominator is a quadratic that I can factor pretty easily. Now, if I was going to do this the standard way and look for my excluded values, look at this denominator, I know x can't be negative 5. Look at this denominator, well, the negative 5 is already taken care of, so it can't be negative 6. Great. But if you actually go ahead and you try and graph this thing, which I did, right, so if we go here, you notice, right, so before, if I go back here a little bit, this is my f of x, right? This is your first fraction, 1 over 7x plus 35, right? Here's your second fraction, and you notice this thing like freaks out Desmos too. Like sometimes the asymptote at negative 6 is there, sometimes it's not. Freaks it out, but that's okay. You notice though, if I graph these, right, because this is division, it's my divided by sign, this guy has a vertical asymptote somewhere where neither of these other ones had an issue, right? That so happens to be at 0, right? If I look at my first fraction, 0 is fine there. I look at my second fraction, 0 is fine there. So why is it that when I do the division, 0 becomes a problem, right? These also still have issues at negative 5, as you can see, and negative 6, right? Don't pay any attention to that 0. It actually still is a problem. Just Desmos flakes out sometimes when there should be holes and there's not. So if we go back, right, the reason why 0 ends up being a significant problem is because in reality, this whole expression, if I was going to write it out as a single fraction, my numerator would stay the 1 over 7x plus 35. Right, let me fix this so it's a little bit neater. 1 over 7x plus 35. My denominator, though, would be the entire second fraction. So why is 0 a problem? Well, 0 is a big problem because if that numerator is 0, this becomes all over 0. And 0 gives this entire expression an undefined value because it makes the denominator of the whole big expression 0. So a lot of times those extra excluded values come from looking at a big picture, right? Looking at the expression as a whole versus looking at each of the individual numerators and denominators, right? So in order to explain a little bit more in depth as to what is the easy way to find all of these things, it's pretty straightforward. So if I have an example here, let's say we've got x minus 2 over x plus 4 divided by, let's say x minus 3 over x squared plus 6x plus 8. Where am I going to look to find my excluded? You're going to look in 3 places. The very first place is the denominator of the first fraction. Oops, there we go. Denominator of the first fraction, I'm going to look right here. That's my number 1. The second place I'm going to look is the denominator of the second fraction. Right here. That's where I'm going to look. The third place is the numerator of the second fraction. This is the one that gives your whole expression a denominator of 0. All right, so that's the one that's going to give the entire thing, if I look big picture, a problem. The other two, these are your standard can't divide by 0. This is still a can't divide by 0 problem. However, it's a bigger picture. If I was going to write this as a single fraction, can't divide by 0 problem. So, I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. We're going to have a full class Google Meet on Friday. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. All right, bye guys.